we'll start off this question. So this is the next type of question where you've got the cosine rule and the sine rule mixed in together. So at this stage, you should be able to use the cosine rule by itself, and you should be able to use the sine rule by itself. This question and the questions that follow on, the next few questions, are all going to be about using about being able to decide how to solve them, right? So again, you're dealing with triangles. If you're dealing with triangles, okay, you know you're dealing with trigonometry, okay? So when you're dealing with trigonometry, you need to work through this framework and see how we're going to answer these questions. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to look at the triangles you're given and see, can I use the fact that angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees? And in this case, we can, okay? Because we can see that in this triangle, we have 50 degrees and we have 80 degrees. So we know that in this small triangle here, the angles in that triangle must add up to 180. So this side here is obviously going to be 50, because 50 and 50 is 100, plus 80 is 180. Or else you could have said 180 subtract 50 subtract 80 will leave you with the side you're looking for, which is 50 degrees. So I'm going to fill in that 50 degrees there. So you can see here what I've done is I've taken the small triangle there and I've just brought it down here. This side here is 9, this side here is 50, this side here is 80, this side here is x, and sorry, I've actually rubbed out that. So what should be inside there is there should be a 50 inside here as well. And there should be 50 should be inside here. So I'll just put it back in there. And 50 we worked that out to be, and this we worked out to be 130 earlier in the video, okay? So with this triangle, I need to look at it. I know that I can use the sine rule, so I use the side and the opposite angle, so I'm going to pair two of these together. And in order to use the sine rule, you have to have another pair. So I have this pair here. So that tells me I can use the sine rule. And to use the sine rule, I'm just going to do that now. So to use the sine rule, I'm going to start off by saying A over sine A is equal to B over sine B. Okay. So A in this case, I always keep the unknowns in the first fraction. So the first fraction here. So to keep the unknowns in the first fraction, I'm going to put x in the first fraction. So I'm going to put x in here over sine of A, which is sine of the green one. I'll actually keep this in green just for the sake of keeping things easy. So x over sine 50 is equal to, and in the blue or the pink one, we'll have 9 over sine 50 as well. So both angles are 50, but that's fine. Okay, when I get this far, I need to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply two of them together and multiply two of these together. And again, at this stage, you shouldn't, this isn't a lesson on using the sine rule. You should be able to use the sine rule at this stage. So x sine 50 will be equal to 9 sine 50. Okay, so to find out what x is, I'm going to divide both sides by sine 50. So x will be equal to 9 sine 50 divided by sine 50. And we know there that if we divide both sides by sine 50, the sine 50 is a cancel, and I'll be left with x equals 9. So that tells me that the length from D to C is going to be equal to 9. And to be honest, we should have known that from looking at the triangle at the very, very start, and we can just check that there now. Because if this angle here is 50 and this angle here is 50, then this triangle is going to be an isosceles triangle. So that means that this side and this side will also have to be equal. Okay, so that's our first part of that question done. So we'll just move on there with the second part of that question. And the second part of that question is asking you to find AB, right? So in order to find AB, what I'm going to do is label AB Y. The reason why I'm labeling it Y is just so I don't get it confused with the X's that I found in the first part of this question. Okay, so in order to find that, I need to look at what I have. I need to make some observations and see if I'm able to solve it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outside triangle there. So I'll take the outside triangle there and I'll just fill in the information for that, because that might be of help to me. So if I just go back like that, across here and up here, this is 130. This is y. This is 6. And what else do we have? So with this question, right, so obviously we're looking for the length y. So if we look at this here, right, from this, we're looking at this triangle here. We have a side opposite an angle. So we have a side opposite an angle. We have a side here opposite nothing. So in this case, we would not be able to use the sine rule. So we need to look at it slightly differently. Okay. And when we look at it slightly differently, we need to think, how are we going to find this value here? So there's a number of different ways you could do it. You could potentially use this triangle, find the length of this side, and then use the sine rule to find this side, or the cosine rule even to find this side. But the other way of doing it is to look at it in terms of the large triangle. So if we look at the large triangle there, which is like this, and if we fill in the information that we have for this, then we should be able to use either the sine rule or the cosine rule. So if we just bring that down, and if we just label them so you know what sides we're looking at, we're looking at B, A, and C. They want us to find AB, so we're looking for this side here. We know that this here is 80. We know that the bottom there is going to be 6 and 9, which gives us a total of 15. Okay, so 6 plus 9 gives us 15. This angle here is 80, and there is no other information I can put into that. So can I use the sine rule? I can't. Can I use the cosine rule? I should be able to use the cosine rule. Let me just see. And we also have this 9 here. So this 9 here allows us to use the cosine rule. That's the problem solving aspect of these questions. You need to be able to look at the triangles. So you could see there the first time we looked at this triangle, that didn't work. So then we had to look at another angle that we could take, and that was by going by the big triangle. And if you went by the big triangle and filled in the information, we were looking for y. So I'll actually change it to y just so there's no confusion. So we were looking for y. Okay. We knew that this side here was 9. So this side here was 9. We knew that this down here adds up to 15. We knew that this angle here was 80. So now we can use the cosine rule. And the cosine rule is that a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of a. Like we do with all the questions, the first thing we need to do is label a and the opposite side to a, b and c, and there we go. So we're just going to fill that in. So we'll fill this in now. So instead of a, I'm going to put in y to be squared is equal to, instead of b, I'm going to put in 15 to be squared. Instead of c, I'm going to put in 9 to be squared, minus 2 times b. Instead of b, like I said, I'm going to put in 15. Instead of c, I'm going to put in 9. And the cos of the angle is going to be the cos of 80. Okay, so we should be able to work that out. Y squared 15 multiplied by 15 gives us 225 plus 81 minus 2 by 15 by 9 gives us 270 cos of 80. Okay, that turns into y squared is equal to 225 plus 81 gives us 306 minus 270 cos of 80. Okay, at this stage we can type all that into the calculator. So y squared is equal to 306 minus 270 cos of 80. And that gives us 259.114992. And we'll finish this off. So if y squared is equal to that, to find out what y is, we need to get the square root of both sides. So we just need to get the square root of both sides, like I just said there, and we get y is equal to the square root of this, and the square root of my answer there is going to give me 16.09. So the answer there is going to be y is equal to 16.09704917. So it's said to give your answer to the nearest centimetre. So our final answer there is going to be 16. And is it what unit are we dealing with? Centimetres.